Hello everyone, it's Matt here and welcome to part 2 of the VEGA upgrade. In part 1 I sort of went through the physical side of things and we'll talk about the after effects and the benefits. So the first thing obviously is that I was originally on the Radeon 17.7.1 driver because I've got the AMD folder up on my C drive, which dates back from July 17, and the reason I was using that version of the driver is that if you play Overwatch, after the full creators update there was massive issues. It's something to do with the scheduler within Windows 10. Microsoft have changed something, and that combined with AMD drivers means that Overwatch will randomly either stop accessing the graphics card, or alternatively there was something where the Overwatch can't access the graphics card or feed data to it in some way, and the game will just crash. So obviously if you're doing competitive that can be quite a big issue. I'm not that much of a competitive player, so I just normally stick to the arcade so I can get some loot boxes and things like that. So that's a bit of a change, so I had to uninstall that and reinstall and install the new DuHQL version, which is 17.9.3, which dates back to September the 30th. That's because according to videocards.com there wasn't a newer version of the DuHQL certified driver, because I like to use the certified drivers partly for benchmarking because 3D Mark or VR Mark doesn't actually authenticate it unless all your drivers are DuHQL certified, and part of that they're certified, so that means that there shouldn't be any issues with them. Obviously if I was playing quite a lot of new releases I might want one of the new interim drivers or one of the temporary drivers to get that eke out that little bit more of performance, but to be honest I'm quite happy using DuHQL drivers, having a bit of being a couple of months behind, and waiting for them to be certified that way. And speaking of performance, initially I didn't think there was that much of a difference like when I was playing Overwatch. But me and a couple of work colleagues were playing for Division, and gameplay itself didn't seem to be that much different. There was a bit less stutter, but what really showed off the extra performance and power of the VEGA 56 compared to my R9 390 was the global map view, because I could now zoom out fully and rotate the map and it did not slow down, it did not hover, it did not glitch out in any way, it just went perfectly smooth. So there's obviously a lot of benefits about that, and it's nice and smooth. A few of the games and just doing things such as video editing and rendering for the YouTube channel, that's going a lot more smoother. That's going actually a little faster as well, thanks to the extra performance of the HBM memory and the general improvements in architecture. And speaking of statistics, up on the screen now is going to be some benchmarks data, and this will be compared to the original R9 390, and also the original system configuration before upgraded to the new Zen architecture with my AM4 socket system, because I've still got those benchmarks saved. So once that's all done, you'll be able to see that there's not a big an increase as people might have been expecting, but nonetheless it is quite a substantial increase, especially in certain aspects. And I think generally, although it's not been that much of an increase in just like general use, the fact that it can output a lot more data quickly means that I can now upgrade to a 1440p monitor for my main display without any form of issue whatsoever. So that's it. It's a very simple upgrade. It gained a lot more performance, and I've had to make no changes because I've already using, everything that was in use from R9 390 is still in use in my VEGA 56. I've not had to take off any extra plates. I've not had to change any power connections because it's still just 2x8 pin. So very simple process, very easy to do, and it's something that to be honest anyone can do. I mean, I've got a little bit more. Mine was a little bit more complicated because of the massive CPU heatsink, but obviously you're probably not going to encounter something as beastly and massive as that. So one other thing I should mention while speaking about statistics is the power draw. I've not personally measured mine before and after, but for those saying that VEGA is very power intensive, I just want to point out that according to GPU Boss, which I used to compare the two originally, the VEGA 56 actually uses less power than the Radeon R9 390. So yes, it might use more power than the competing 10XX series from Nvidia, for example, but compared to the R9 390, it's actually using less power. And in terms of noise, personally, I'm not noticing much noise from it as I was expecting from reviews. Admittedly, I normally have headphones on. I'm taking them off for filming, but in terms of sound, there is the initial ramp up as the system starts, so you get that sort of like woo, sort of very powerful fan noise. But to be honest, in general use, when it's just when the tachymeter's just on that one bar, it's very quiet. And to be honest, I've heard more noise off my hard drives, off my physical hard drives, rather than the actual graphics card, despite the fact it's one of those blower designs. And that is something very useful as well, the tachymeter. Because the thing is, because I've got this nice, sort of empty cover at the top of the case, I can actually see down to the tachymeter lights. So if I'm playing Euro Truck Simulator, for example, and it's getting a bit laggy, I can actually look down and see that the card is actually ramping up its performance to, I don't know, load some new map areas or stream some new textures ready for the next bit of the map. So overall, very easy process, very easy to do, and the cost as well. I just want to talk about that. Yes, it was an expensive card, I'm not going to deny that, but there is a few ways I've been able to get my price down a bit. The first thing is I bought it in the Black Friday deals, so it was not as cheap as it would be at RRP. It was about 9% cheaper according to Amazon. On top of that 9% discount from Black Friday, I sold my old R9 390 to a work colleague, either for mining or gaming. So he paid me £125 for my old one, so that's gone off against that. And when Amazon actually shipped the card, and that's the reason why there wasn't an unboxing video, so they just shipped the card on its own with some address labels stuck to the outside. So I did complain to Amazon, and they gave me 20% off as well. So it took the 300 and something cost of the card down to just 185, which is actually less than I paid for my R9 390. So, yes, I've upgraded to VEGA for £185. You might not be that lucky, but yeah, it's fantastic. £185 for that performance increase, the smoothness, the speed of which everything could work at as well. It's just been fantastic. So anyway, that's part 2 and the conclusion for the VEGA upgrade. So hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Bye.